Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So tomorrow is free ratings day, which means the ratings will be available to everybody. From about 3 o'clock we'll release them. Before we start our analysis of Newbury tomorrow, I want to talk about a horse that's just run at Thurles. Sammy Smart, you can see here I've added a Nagme. Go back and watch the race. I think it's a really bad ride from James Smith. Sorry mate, really bad ride. Got the horse way too far behind, then started to make ground, went down the inside, ran into all sorts of trouble. Has finished really strongly. I don't know how far it's been beaten in the end, not far, by our top rated horse. Beaten a length and a half. 10 lengths clear of third, should have won. I think it should have beaten our top rated horse. I know Rising Dust looks progressive, is only a 7-year-old, had won 2 of his last 3. I think Sammy Smart should have beaten that horse and was very unlucky. I think it's worth adding to your Nagme. Yeah, Sammy Smart should have won. Go back and watch the race at Thurles. Get the old racing TV replays on. Watch that. Keep your eye on Sammy Smart. Watch where he's come from. He's come from a long way back and then got no run at a crucial time and has narrowly lost out to Rising Dust, who I think would have been beaten if Sammy Smart had a clear run. Would have run a really good race, Rising Dust. It'd be interesting to see what they do with Sammy Smart. I think that should have won, and I'd be looking at getting on in a similar race next time out. So anyway, away from those eye catchers, let's move on to Newbury tomorrow. The first race we're going to look at is the 12:15. It's a maiden hurdle. I've highlighted all of these horses, pretty much all of these horses already in our analysis on Monday and also again yesterday to Premium and Pro members. So some of these may have even shortened since we highlighted them. That's the thing that you get with Premium and Pro member access. So first race, Sinatra for the Skelton team. Why do I like this horse? Well, first of all, got some decent form anyway. Finished 4th in a bumper back in January 2025. That was a decent race. The winner was actually Idaho Sun. The runner-up was Cocktail Blue. And the third horse was Supreme Molinas. Now, at the time, Supreme Molinas was trained by Dan Skelton. He still is trained by Dan Skelton. She still is, trained by Dan Skelton. And she went on to win a subsequent bumper. She previously won a bumper, a listed bumper. And again, the Skeltons know when they've got a horse. They think Supreme Molinas, I think they think is quite decent. Just behind, Sinatra for then trained by Paul Nicholls. I think again they're going to do the same thing as they did with Cabral de Matan. Go and convincingly win this race and say to the owners, look what we can do with the horses. We can get them to win really impressively. When it finished 4th in that bumper, it was behind Cocktail Blue. Cocktail Blue's obviously come out and done pretty well since. Finished 3rd in a good race at Exeter behind Cryptic Jim, who's come out and won a maiden hurdle as well. And then went to Fontwell recently, Cocktail Blue, and beat Roi de Risque in good style in a maiden hurdle. The second horse, as I've mentioned, was... That was the second horse, and the winner was Idaho Sun, who we really like. We think he's very smart. So I think Sinatra ran in a good bumper there. Came out last time at Newbury, over hurdles. Ran a good race for second behind Captain Hugo in front of Storming George. Storming George, who was 3rd, had previously run in a Grade 2 bumper at Aintree. Finished a good 5th. The winner, Captain Hugo, we think is pretty smart himself. He'd come from winning a bumper at Worcester, then went to Newbury and won. Yeah, it's all really good form. Sinatra doesn't have to really step up on that, but I think he will. And I also think Dan has an idea as to whether he can beat the second favourite and the second horse on our ratings, Harbour Island, on the basis that he beat him last time with My Daddy Paddy. The Skeltons will know, or should know, roughly where Sinatra lines up, and if they, especially if they think Sinatra's better than My Daddy Paddy, they'll be like, yeah, well, this is we're definitely going to win that. If they think he's very similar ability, Again, we think Sinatra should be able to win that and beat Harbour Island. Yeah, that's about it, really. The good R figure last time out. Can't see any reason to take Sinatra on, to be honest. And it's not a surprise to see the initial money coming for Sinatra if we just load up the odds. Short as 6-4, 13-8, whereas Harbour Island is 9-4. We think that one, we think that's the biggest danger, but I think Dan Skelton should have a good idea as to what he's got there. Moving on to the 12:45, the horse we like here, you can see that it's got my Nagme sign next to it already once it reloads, is Mambo number 5. I think that performance last time out was very, very impressive at Aintree as a 4-year-old in a novice handicap chase. I thought it was a really, really good run. Beat Highlands Legacy that day by 3/4 of a length. It was more than that for sure. I really think it was more than that. Jockey didn't really get after him at all. Came there travelling really nicely. Eventually went, okay, let's try and go and win the race. And he did, and he won it a lot more cosily than the 3/4 of a length suggested, in my opinion. Only went up £5 for that. I think he could have won that and gone up £10-12 for winning that comfortably at Aintree. They looked after him. They were very clever there. I think that was a great bit of riding from Ben Jones, and because of that, they can come out and win another one. Prices, let's just load up all of the races, because we're going to talk about all of them. Mambo number 5 is, as expected, favourite. I still think that's not a bad price, to be honest. I think this horse has got another £5-6 in him comfortably here. He's had the run as well. The danger on betting wise is Captain Bellamy, who may well need the run for Paul Nicholls. Hasn't run for 252 days. I think he can beat the rest. I don't think they're good enough. So yeah, Mambo number 5 is quite a strong selection here. It could well be one of my Nap's next best or third best. Let's put it down as my Nap initially until we go through the rest. Moving on to the 1:15 at Newbury. The juvenile hurdle for fillies. We like Charlie Gell for the Skeltons on the basis that we don't think Dan Skelton would be running this horse again in a listed race if he doesn't think she's pretty smart. She moved from Michael Bale to Dan Skelton, and straight away he went into a juvenile hurdle, a listed juvenile hurdle with her. She finished third that day. She ran okay. She was given a kind of Dan Skelton learning ride in that she was held up at the back, made a bit of ground, and then couldn't catch those at the front. Those at the front, Manila Study and Ames, were both geldings, and I think that's a massive thing in juvenile company, being geldings against the fillies, or colts against the fillies, and they're generally geldings when they go hurdling. Against the fillies, I just think they are a little bit stronger at this point in their career. Charlie Gell this time runs in a fillies juvenile hurdle, a fillies listed juvenile hurdle, and I think she can go very close here. It wasn't a bad run against the geldings. I think she'll be much better this time. Harry Skelton takes over as well. I expect to see her ridden a little bit more forward. She won't be quite as far out the back, in my opinion. And I think she's going to run a really nice race here for the Skeltons in against fellow fillies. Moving on to the 1:50. The grade 2, over 2.5 miles, and I can't really get away from Regent Stroll here, to be honest. I think it's very good form. I think the horse has some really nice form, including when finishing second to Fingalbridge. I actually think Fingalbridge is a future grade 1 horse. I thought it was given a terrible ride last time out against, what was it, Lulamba, I think it took on. Yeah, it was an awful ride by Sean Bowen. He was not there to try and win that race on Fingalbridge. Regent Stroll finished not that far behind Fingalbridge, but crucially, in front of Julius de Pictons, who went on to win the Grade 1 at Aintree, the Sefton. And behind that was Alexei, who at the time was rated 132 and was looking like it was going to go down the handicap route. They did. They came into handicaps this season, obviously, and they've gone and won a Greatwood Hurdle and are now rated 147. Well, that's actually higher than Regent Stroll has over fences. He's been given a mark of 143 on the basis of his hurdles performance. I think that would be enough to win this, to be honest. A similar sort of run. I don't rate Wendigo as high, and I don't think the others have quite shown it yet, and they need to really produce their best to get even close to Regent Stroll. I think Regent Stroll is both a chaser and will be better over fences, and has that graded form, whereas the others may just be a little bit short. With that in mind, I think the prices are slightly wrong. It wouldn't surprise me if they actually flipped and Regent Stroll became clear favourite. You can currently get, what's that, 15 to 8. You can get a little bit of 2s, but not enough. 15 to 8 is available about Regent Stroll. Moving on to the 225. This is a frustrating race. I was hoping to only see one of the two that I like declared. Unfortunately, they've both been declared. And they are American Mike and Cheltenham. We'll start off in ratings order. We'll start off with Cheltenham. Why do I like him? Back down to a mark of 136, having raced last season off a mark as high as 142. Came back this season. He's had 3 runs. I think they're 3 prep runs, getting him dropped in the handicap, and now they've given him wind surgery. I think that's very key as well. Comes back to Newbury. He's been to Newbury before for a similar race, over 2.5 mile. In March of 2024, he went off the even money favourite that day, and he beat Sir Psycho. He had previously been to Newbury before that, and he beat Can Do Kid off a mark of 130. Well, both of those 2 runs, Can Do Kid was obviously a future Coral Gold Cup winner. Both of those 2 runs, for me, suggest that Cheltenham is very good at Newbury off this sort of mark. Okay, he then got beat in November on his seasonal return last season when running off a mark of 142. Still only went off 92 that day. He just needed to drop in the handicap, which he eventually did towards the end of the season, and then got his act together. They've kind of rushed it this season instead of waiting till April when they started to get him down to a winnable mark. They've sent him out 3 times already. He's been beaten on all 3, beaten far enough to drop in the handicap, back down to a mark of 136, a mark they can win off. I think he's going to go really close. Currently available at 5 to 1. Second horse I like is our bottom rated horse because he looks out of form. That horse is American Mike. Over 2.5 miles in a handicap chase. Let's go through it. Last time out, it was a 2.5 mile hurdles. Nope, not a 2.5 mile handicap. 2 miles, not quick enough for a Grand Annual. 2 mile 1, not quick enough. Ran actually a really eye-catching race. Again at Fairyhouse, 2 mile 1, really eye-catching again, staying on strongly. Still no 2.5 mile handicap chase. 3 mile handicap chase, didn't stay. 3 mile grade 1, I think that was. Beaten by Spillane's Tower. Never going to be good enough for that. 3 mile chase at Cheltenham, well behind Factor File in the Brown Advisory. 3 mile at Navan. He beat Nick Rocket that day, but he beat a horse that clearly wanted a lot further. The others just weren't good enough. Then we go to a 2.5 mile grade 1. Finished 4th behind Gaelic Warrior, Il Erte Tomp, and I Know the Way You're Thinking. Actually, that's not bad form. And then back here, he was winning at Navan in a grade 2, in a beginner's chase, beating Factor File. So he's never been in a handicap chase over 2.5 miles, and he drops into one here. And he drops in off a very low mark for him, 147. I think that's very workable for a horse that has previously beaten the likes of Factor File and been running in graded races. This looks ideal. There's no negatives about American Mike, in my opinion. He moves to Ollie Murphy. Ollie does well with his horses first time up from stable switches. And yeah, I think he's got a great chance here. Currently available at forwards. I can't really split them, so I am going to have a bet on both of them, American Mike and Cheltenham. We move on to the 3 o'clock at Newbury. And that is the long distance hurdle, where we can see that Impose Toi has come out top rated. However, I think the best horse in this race is Strong Leader. And if you're listening to this video, I'm going to give it away in this video. I won't talk about it on Twitter or anything like that. I think one of the best handicapped horses of the season right now also runs in this race, and I hope she gets beat. That gives it away who it is. It's Take No Chances. We'll come back to that in a minute. But why do I think Strong Leader can win this race? So first of all, won this race last year, beating Montmirail on his first start of the season. This year he's already had a run at Wetherby. I think he'll improve and step forward for that. On that basis, I think he'll step forward. I think Doddy the Great will step forward, and I Take No Chances won't, because she had already had a run. Strong Leader, Doddy the Great have both had that run now. I think they'll both improve past Take No Chances, which is perfect. I'm hoping Impose Toi also goes past Take No Chances, and they end up running Take No Chances in a handicap at the Cheltenham Festival. Strong Leader wants this sort of track, loves a long finish, loves a long straight, got Sean Bowen on. He's going to be off the bridle. He's going to trade bigger in running. I just hope he can out-battle all of his rivals. Impose Toi, although was a good winner at Aintree, I thought it turned into a bit of a sprint, so still needs to prove himself over the 3 mile. But just going back to Take No Chances, why I think she's very well handicapped. Well, last year she was running in graded races. She ran at Ascot. Let's go back to Cheltenham actually. She finished 3rd at Cheltenham behind Wadhu and Joyous. Wadhu was winning that day off a mark of 130. She's now rated 154. Joyous was running off a mark of 119. She's now rated 142. Take No Chances was running off a mark of 137. She's now rated 144. So if they all reoppose, Take No Chances would actually be pretty well off compared to the two in front of her. After that, she went to Ascot and she finished 2nd to Carges. She beat Carges. Carges was running off 141 and effectively running off. She was getting a pound from Take No Chances and still couldn't beat her, despite being £2 higher rated. She's rated 152 now. So Take No Chances ran a really good effort to beat her. Obviously, Carges went on to win a county hurdle. 3rd at Cheltenham in the mares was a good effort from Take No Chances. 3rd again at Aintree behind Lossiemouth and Wadhu was again a good effort. You could argue disappointed at Sandown in the Grade 2 hurdle, but that was her only run that she disappointed. She had a very busy season. That was her 8th run of the season, sorry. This season she returned with a prep run behind Rambo T in the Silver Trophy, and then went to Wetherby, took on Strong Leader and Doddy the Great. Was getting £7 from Strong Leader, but was officially rated £12 lower, so was £5 wrong at the weights. Off a mark of 145, she dropped to a mark of 144. She was officially higher rated than Doddy the Great, and she beat Doddy the Great. Doddy the Great actually has gone up to 146. Take No Chances is unbelievably well handicapped on the basis of the form with Wadhu, Lossiemouth, Strong Leader. She just needs to run in a handicap, so she must get beat tomorrow. We'll be really gutted if she goes and wins this tomorrow. But we think Take No Chance. We think Strong Leader is the one to be on. He's the 3 miler. Impose Toi, we think, won a sprint over 3 mile. Doddy the Great, we don't think is as good as Strong Leader, and Take No Chances hopefully will be aimed at a handicap. And, you know, those other two, just that I've mentioned, should step forward for their returns. And the final race that we want to talk about, we'll move on to it, is the 335, which is a 3 mile handicap hurdle. We think there's two here that we like. Well, there is two here that we like. They are JJ Moon and Classic King. Now, JJ Moon comes into this race off the back of 2 consecutive wins, including last time out at Newton Abbot, when beating Ambient View. Ambient View did come out and run a reasonable race last time out, again finishing second. Ambient View was finishing second at Exeter behind Luttrell Lad. When sent off the 7-4 favourite, we thought that was a decent run from Ambient View. JJ Moon won it impressively though. Went up £5 for that, and potentially crucially, Harry Cobden has chosen to ride JJ Moon again. The reason that could be crucial is I thought the form of Classic King was very good. That 4th placed effort on his return behind French Ship looked a good bit of form. French Ship, Navajo Indy, Bowen's on Fire, Classic King, Jazzy Matty, Tin Tin Tin, and horses further behind. What's Up With You, East India Express, all good horses. We thought it was a very good effort. And last season, the horse didn't look like he'd stopped improving, to be honest, Classic King. His 3rd behind Outer Belly and Joyo Machan, we really rate. And then his 2nd behind Aston Martini, a horse that we said at the time, Aston Martini was incredibly well handicapped. Behind Classic King was Double Powerful, who was running off 127. That horse is now rated 134 over hurdles and 136 over fences, because he went to finish 3rd in a feature handicap at Aintree. The form just stacks up for Classic King. He's always been there or thereabouts. We think he'll step forward for his return. The only negative was Harry Cobden has chosen not to ride. He's chosen JJ Moon. Because of that, we kind of feel that both of them, therefore, come into this race with big chances. JJ Moon, who's available at 11-2, available at 5-1, sorry, and Classic King is available at 8-1. There's a couple of them at 8-1. We think both of those for Emma Lavelle are going to go really close. An interesting side note here is, if Emma Lavelle does train the 1-2 here, is it a great bit of placement or a terrible bit of placement? A great bit of placement because she's got a 1-2 in a race, or a terrible bit because she didn't even realise that she had 2 horses that could essentially win their own races if they'd been kept apart. I saw a couple of 1-2s a few days ago, and I just wondered whether it was deemed as a great bit of placement or a terrible bit of placement. Did they not realise they had a couple of horses that were, good enough to win both of them, to win 2 different races? It's an interesting one. I'm not sure what I believe. I probably sway towards it was a bad bit of placement, because they didn't realise that they had horses that were well handicapped. So anyway, a very quick recap. 12:15 Sinatra. The Skeltons should know whether they can beat Harbour Island. I didn't think it was a bad effort last time out at all. Mambo number 5, very impressive, to be honest. That is going to be my nap. Very impressive at Aintree. Won in the style of a horse with a lot more than well ahead of its mark. Only went up £5. Charlie Gale runs against fillies this time. Took on some geldings last time. Wasn't good enough in that, but I think will step forward and in against fillies will go very close. Regent Stroll has the best bit of form, just needs to jump well, and I think he'll take all of the beating as long as he's fit and ready to do his running. Cheltenham and American Might both have big chances. Cheltenham is down to a winnable mark. American Might runs in a 2.5 handicap for the first time. I think Ollie Murphy's got that spot on. Strong Leader we think will outstay Imposed Trois, be too good for the rest. And finally, both JJ Moon and Classic King have big chances for Emma Lavelle. JJ Moon looks very progressive. Harry Cobden keeps the ride, or chooses that one. And Classic King, that 4th placed effort was a good effort on return, having shown some good handicap form at the end of last season.